Fact, I just now counted more than 5 occasions during the time I lived like an animal outside. So my father dropped me off to live out in the woods knowing that I had disabilities, knowing that he just crashed my Social Security, knowing that he just owed me $12,000, knowing he just stole money out of my Social Security and lied to me and a program and had me filing illegal paperwork because he was lying to me. Meanwhile, my mother was hiding a bigger secret that I should have known about, but I wasn't an adult who knew any medicine yet. I didn't know what a nervous system was. I wasn't able to put it together. And at the time, I had a bunch of other shit going on, like my mother dying, my father acting crazy, trying to figure out if it's okay for me to drive or not. I can't keep my movement still. My leg is twitching out of control. My arms are moving out of control. My hands are moving out of control. But my father told me it's okay to drive like that. He tells me, no, 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 we don't. Oh no, we don't want to go in the car with you. No, no, we're not going to teach you how to drive. No, no, no. You have a learner's permit, but for 2 years, we don't want to touch that wheel with you. We're not going to get in the car with you. No. But it's okay for you to drive. I mean, we're scared that one of your twitchers are going to slam us off the road. You're having your leg bounce up and down, your legs are twitching, your hands are twitching, you're bumping in the furniture. Your mother's calling it mental illnesses, though. Keep it in mind that when I had scabs on my shins all over from bumping in the furniture, when I jumped in a pool and then my foot twitched and caught the back of the fence and sliced open, when I was sucking my skin because my whole body changed and teachers were noticing this change, including one time where I actually did take glass and I tried it. So one of them is mine, but that was after 3 of my mother's lies. My mother called all those things self-harming. She called all those actual injuries self-harming. She called me a self-harmer at age 7 because she destroyed my nervous system. I didn't know what was going on, so I was sucking on my skin. She called me a self-harmer because I was bumping into furniture all the time, and that wasn't the first time. She said that multiple times because of my coordination. Anytime my coordination ever appeared again, after the doctors and teachers diagnosed with a coordination and put me in physical therapy, but she cleaned all that up by just cutting off all doctors and teachers for 4 years and trafficking me all over the country. Yes. So she buried that real good, and then she tried to fuck me over again and again and again. Every time I had physical illnesses, she would just make up a mental illness to cover it up. Oh, he jumped in a pool and sliced the back out of his foot. It's self-harming. Oh, he's bumping in the furniture all the time, and his legs and arms are bouncing out of control, and it seems like he has uncontrollable body movements and coordination issues. It's self-harming. That's not true. That's my mother being mentally ill. But now, when I ask my father to handle this shit, what do you think he does? Does he think he says, sorry, sure, we're going to handle this, we're going to clear this up for you, sorry it happened? No. He wants to double down on fantasies. He wants to try to lie to his daughter, lie to me. He wants to lie to his grandson, lie to his son, try to act like try to get me hurt, by the way. I'm going to get killed from it and run away as fast as he can. That's his plan. And what I mean by lying, I mean he definitely knows something was wrong at this point. He knows I'm not coming up with just bullshit. It's just easier for him to handle it that way. If he asks questions of me about it, I have answers. We can go drive and get paperwork. He knows that that paperwork exists. He knows that there is paper that says I have coordination issues. He knows that I was talking to doctors about this combination of pills that caused me to lose my sight and my whole body change. He knows there's papers that say I was sucking on my skin and my mother was trying to call it a mental illness. He knows that my mother called me bumping in the furniture as self-harming. He knows that when I jumped into a pool, my mother called it self-harming. He knows that my mother admitted to giving me extra medication as a punishment. He knows all this. So does my sister and other relatives. So do doctors, teachers, and many other individuals. So when my father tries to say that there's nothing here to look at and I'm just some mental patient making up stories, of course that's going to get me killed. I can't even walk properly in the cold. I'm not able to drive a car, and my job's on hold until my disabilities are cleared up. Well, it's not going to happen anytime soon, but I can go back to running the store I work at as soon as my disabilities are cleared up. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen, so I don't get to go back there. Plus, I don't like this cold state. I keep on having seizures, multiple injuries, head injuries, falls, every single, 9 months a year here. So that's a big problem. Most of all, whenever people call my father, all of a sudden things change for me, for the worst. They stop talking to me. They stop handling my case. I mean, my father has a bunch of attorneys, a bunch of money, and a bunch of lies. He also created a bunch of fraudulent medical records. He created a Social Security case based upon his wife's fantasies, as well as he went along with so many mental illnesses, as well as some of them are true, while some of them aren't. Like, for instance, I do have ADHD. I do talk. And now my voice wasn't always this funny sounding. But that also throws people off. But that's due to the neurological disorder. I can't control or have any choice over that. Now my voice would be normal if it wasn't for my mother and father, for sure. If it wasn't for the brain damage and the overdose at age 7, I know for a fact that things would be different. Because they were different before the overdose. That's simple. You don't get a sudden change in your body and not realize it. Of course you do. And I didn't realize this, but the teachers realized it too, because they were calling me in the hallway and asking me if there was any changes at home. I didn't know what they meant by this question at age 7. But now as an adult, I realized, oh, they were asking about my writing, my movements. They were talking in the hallway about there was a change. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then I told the doctor about it, and my mother took me out of the doctors, out of the teachers, and brought me to Texas. Oh, yeah. Okay. And then when I told the doctors in Texas, she took me out of the doctors, out of the teachers, and put me in a cabin in New Mexico. Oh, yeah. So now I realize what was going on. But I was fucked up in the head by this mother. And when I tried to take these medications and I was drinking, both of them were fucking me up more, because I don't need all these fucked up medications. I just need to sleep. I need to get some epilepsy medication, something for my neurological disorder. I have stomach damage and esophagus damage, and I'm going to have anxiety and PTSD for the rest of my life. I also need to clear this up so when I go to a shelter or when I have a seizure, the doctors know what's going on with me, because they have no idea. They just know I'm sober. They're like, why is this kid sober? We don't know why he's having a seizure if he's been sober for 8 years. What's going on? He can't even move his body. He can't talk. Something's wrong with this kid. Are you sure it's not drugs? It's not? Well, what does his file say? Oh, his mother and father called him crazy? Well, that must be what it is. It must be crazy. And then I'm better, like months later, and I come in like, what the fuck did you guys do? Why didn't you do any testing? Why didn't you do any testing? Well, because your mother and father called you crazy, so we assumed you were just crazy. Well, am I talking good now? Well, yes. Now that it's summer and I'm warm, do I seem to be a little better in my movements? Well, yes. Well, it's called the neurological disorder, guys, and I had a head injury with a seizure, and I have problems talking and walking after those seizures and head injuries. But if you guys treated me, and if you guys kept me in the hospital, you would know that. But instead, you guys just released me as soon as I relieved after a seizure to bleed out in your waiting room, to the point where nurses are filing complaints. Do you know how fucked it up it is when there's 4 nurses and they're watching you bleed and cry because you can't stand up and you can't move and you're just covered in blood? But then when they ask you, well, you're waiting to go in the emergency room, right? And I tell them I just got out. They say that's wrong, and they all start panicking and calling and reporting that. That's fucked up shit. But why would they be doing this in the first place? Are these doctors this shitty? No, they're misinformed. A doctor is only as good as the information you give them. See, I'm giving the doctors good information, but the doctors are disregarding that and listening to a crazy, crazy, crazy dead mother's fantasies. And my father's doubling down on those fantasies, so they're going, well, that must be what it is. And then I get hurt, then I get more hurt, then I get more hurt, because they're treating me for an illness I don't have, instead of treating me for what the patient is coming in for that isn't on the medical record. See, I'm trying to get this on the medical record, but as long as they're treating me for my father's and mother's stuff, getting me hurt and malpracticing me, we just keep on going in circles. But again, it's my father's fault, All he has to do is stop lying, jump on my side, and then I get medical care. We get the records from Westford. We put this all together, and things get better for me. It's very easy. Every time doctors listen to me and start treating me for the actual illnesses, like the Triliptal, I get better. Every time they listen to my mother and father, I get very, very bad, very ill, start puking, can't move my body, can't work, can't make any money. I am destined to live in the woods at $0 for the rest of my life. So if they listen to my father and mother, I have to live with like a chipmunk making $0 for the rest of my life in the woods. If they listen to me, I get better. I can hold a job. I can collect Social Security. I can move around. I can help other people. I can build support groups. I can talk. Maybe even I can drive. But first, I would need treatment, epilepsy medication, a diagnosis. We would need to make sure that people that I went to, like after a seizure, or if I needed food stamps or benefits, they knew what was going on with me. We could apply for Social Security, seeing as I'm this level of disabled. I mean, I really have trouble walking at times. I have seizures, falls. I have a destroyed stomach, esophagus, ADHD, PTSD from the stuff I'm talking about. But no, as long as my father wants to lie, I get nowhere. And now I'm being pushed off the grid again because I am having kidney problems, GI problems. I have the neurological disorder, head injuries, and I can't go back to work until some of this stuff is handled. But we're at a standstill once again, thanks to my father. They called him, and then everything came to a standstill. Things were going good. Things were going good. Things were going good. The doctors contacted my emergency contact, even though I told them not to, and then things crashed and fell apart. Things are going good with the Department of Health and Human Services. Things are going good with the department. I'm getting my insurance. I got food stamps. My food stamps are stopped because I'm going to work just part time. And then my father fucks everything up. They call my father. They ask for his number. I warn them not to take any information from them. They do it anyways. And now I'm screwed. Happens every single time I give out my father's number or anybody talks to my father or mother. Now I can't get any help, any services, and I'm not even allowed to work, use a shelter, or collect Social Security. Thank you, Dad, for killing me.